And finally, in fact, again, to talk about the CSR decade, we have completed 1 decade of the CSR legislation in India. And in this connection, what are the developments in the sector you want to appreciate? You want to kind of say, oh, these are the good developments that has happened because of the legislation, and the directions the CSR investment and partnership should take. How can we bring more synergy between government, corporate, and civil society organization, NGOs, in complementing their strengths? Not just as CSR gives money to NGOs or government give directions to CSR about what to do, but how it can be more, a synergic partnership between all these organizations in terms of complementing their strength.
Right. I think I'll sort of mix both the questions in my answer. I'll start with saying that CSR is now an integral part of the business strategy because of the active engagement from the board, the senior leadership teams, and the employee volunteers. So when I say employee volunteers, and I forgot this point, it is not about engaging them in certain specific volunteering activities, right? Where, for example, cognizant employees volunteered to create tactile cards so that visually impaired learners in the higher primary school are actually using them in the class, right? That's one. But the second aspect is because CSR team is normally a very thin team and probably present in 1 or 2 locations where, but then the projects are happening all across India in some 6-7 states and so on. We can't be everywhere. So we rely on employee volunteers to, hey, can you make that visit to that vision center? Can you report back on the activities that are happening? Can you speak to the stakeholders? Can you speak to the staff members? Check the records that are maintained in the center and so on. There are volunteers who agree to do that. Right? So fundamentally, because it's a part of the business strategy, like I said, multiple people at multiple levels are involved. It has also made organizations build and nurture dedicated capabilities for executing CSR. Right? What otherwise maybe 5-7 years ago was somebody multitasking from a HR, corporate communication, legal, corporate affairs, and so on. Now, almost all organizations have dedicated CSR teams. So, on the other hand, CSR talent also has improved significantly because there is cross-pollination of people from implementing organizations to CSR teams and vice versa. Right? There are many people from the corporate world who have joined well-established NGOs and taken the NGOs forward, while people from the NGOs have joined corporate CSR teams. So now, also in the last maybe 2-3 years, CSR is also now executed largely in a planned manner with a longer-term tenure in mind. It's no more 1 year and goodbye. I only have this much money kind of thing. But it may be 1 year to begin with because we don't know each other, we don't know how the project will shape up and so on. But then very quickly it becomes a 2-year, 3-year or 3+1 year kind of a project. Because the intent is to create change at a systemic level, right? Where possible in our small way. Therefore, the in this evolution, the attention is shifting towards impact. We still collect input, activities, output, but we are also trying to look at what is the impact. So I want to mention 3 specific aspects on the direction question that you asked. How do we see it in the future in terms of the CSR investment and partnerships? So I'll just mention 3 aspects. One is development sectors professionals, both from the NGOs as well as from CSR teams. They're continuously sharing their knowledge in various forums, right? This is, for example, maybe we have one forum, but there are many forums that are happening where that knowledge sharing is happening. For example, at Cognizant Foundation, we are drafting a white paper to share our experience in implementing avoidable blindness program that's under our Sight for All within the Health for All initiative. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It will cover aspects that needs to be addressed when funding such a program. The idea is to encourage other organizations to support the cause of avoidable blindness. So that way, ecosystem strengthening and capacity building are areas that will need some more investment. Right? And when I say investment per se, couple of my team members are spending part-time effort in this cause, right? I mean, ultimately we may only publish a white paper, right? But then we also have a duty, obligation to promote the content of that white paper widely among other organizations, so that instead of the 20 organizations supporting the cause of avoidable blindness, hopefully 30, 40 organizations will. So that's one. Second is we also catalyze innovation. CSR catalyzes innovation rather than only fund programs, because the idea is CSR spending, like I said, is very minuscule when compared to the government's social service expenditure, right? So in this context, it is important to support prototypes. Yesterday we were talking to a well-established healthcare organization which does pioneering work in the area of eye care. And they were talking about how there is a universal eye screening program that they want to kick off with some pilot. And for that pilot, they need a particular equipment called as arc light. And that cost, I believe, about 4,000 Indian rupees. But then if you talk about universal rollout, one state, multiple states and so on, even that 4,000 will be very prohibitive. So they are working with a very popular India-based and Bangalore-based technology company to develop a version of that, which is again more powerful in features, and it could be available at a cost of about 500 rupees. So which means 8 times cost reduction with better features, right?
Okay.
So we are thinking of the possibility of supporting that prototype development and a pilot implementation, right? So that way, I said we support research. Innovative ideas need to be supported. Basically, prototypes, innovative ideas, research, pilot programs are required to be supported to show the art of possibilities. What is possible, right? So that way, if those programs can show the art of possibilities, that can be showcased to the government for large-scale implementation, right? We won't have the money muscle to fund large-scale implementation. The money is with the government. But they may be looking for data points, experiences, pilot approaches, and so on. That's where I strongly talk about catalyzing innovation. And regarding the other question you asked, and I want to tie in here with respect to how do we bring more synergy between government, corporate, CSOs. I mean, we all talk about this, but I feel at a basic level, there has to be a dialogue, right? We have to sit across the table, have these virtual calls where the government, corporate and CSOs, NGOs are talking with each other to identify a specific cause, a specific geography. So that way, in some sense, collaboration is a scale multiplier. Only through collaborations, the scale can be multiplied. Like, for example, the CSR funding providing for a pilot implementation, a small scale implementation, showcasing to the government for a large scale implementation. So thanks to various NGOs, we are supporting multiple program implementation with active suggestions and reviews from the stakeholders in the government system. So that way, broadly, sharing knowledge, capability building. Second, innovation. And third is the collaboration, which is very key.
Thank you. In fact, we at GRAAM keep saying this. I personally, in various forums, have said this. If you compare the overall CSR budget put together vis-a-vis the government budget, it's just 0.1%, not even 1%. It's 0.1% of the government's social sector expenditures, and the government's budget put together actually what we have for vis-a-vis the corporate social responsibility budget. With this money, it's an important money for us actually, because as you said, This money should be utilized for innovation. This money should be used for model developments, prototype development, so that a large-scale development foundation or a government, for that matter, can take it up and scale it up and probably roll it out across the state or across the country. That's what I think the CSR money need to contribute. But unfortunately, many a times, many corporates expect proof of concept rather than daring to establish proof of concept. So they say, like, whether it is worked somewhere, we don't want to experiment, we don't want to innovate, can give us the workable and demonstrated and tested model rather than taking, because my view is the whole strength of companies taking the risk. We want strength of corporates actually. The mindset they come from is taking the news risk, extending the boundaries, challenging the stereotypes, etc., and innovate something new. I think that spirit, I'm very happy to see what we advocating are being practiced, are probably demonstrated at your institution, Cognizant Foundation. So it was really wonderful having this conversation with you, Deepak. In this last 1 hour, we have kind of covered various aspects. You told us about importance of keeping values while shaping or strategizing CSR, and how the investment required to be long-term and what impact that will bring in if you think your CSR activities and projects for long-term instead of being short-sighted, and as well as inclusive CSR, how you should bring in inclusivity in whatever you do, and more importantly, partnership, the importance of partnership between a corporate, a civil society organization, and the government are planning the CSR activity, and volunteering engagement, how it adds value, not just kind of doing some service to the society, but how it adds value to the corporate themselves by kind of encouraging their people to volunteer for the social responsibility projects. And also we discussed about future of CSR and what the collaboration should be, and the innovation should be the way forward of the CSR investment. Thank you so much for all these thoughts. We'll certainly circle back probably after a couple of years to kind of learn more from the experiences, the practical experiences of Cognizant Foundation in terms of implementing all these programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Basavaraju. It was a pleasure to share my thoughts with you, and thanks to all your team members at GRAAM for supporting this session.
Thank you. Thank you.